Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Kiwi Talks. I'm honoured to be speaking to one of the underappreciated legends, I think, of New Zealand film and television. He's been in Sons of Anarchy, Lord of the Rings, Eagles vs. Shark, Shortland Street, and heaps of other stuff as well. Joel Tobeck, nice to finally talk to you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you for inviting me on. It's great to be here. I appreciate being the unappreciated legend of New Zealand screen. I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, I feel you are. A lot of people know who you are, but I don't feel you get enough props for all the stuff you've done.
Thanks. I mean, I've been around a long time. You know, I started when I was a kid, so I've been doing this since I was young. But I guess, you know, people say to me, "Hey, Matt, what have I seen you in?" And it's like, well, I don't want to list off everything I've done because it'll seem A, really arrogant, and B, really boring.
Yeah. So how's everything going at the moment with COVID-19? I mean, because do you have much work at the moment, given the circumstances?
After the first lockdown, prior to the first lockdown, I was in the middle of shooting a new series, which we then picked up after the first lockdown. So I've been up until July, I was working pretty much all the time. We had that, obviously, the 7 weeks of lockdown, and then we finished the project in July. And luckily, I do the Bunnings voiceovers on TV and radio, so that's been keeping me going as well. But since July, really, I've had no acting work. I was up for a big role in an American show shooting here, but that went to an international at the last minute.
Oh, that's the way it goes. Yeah. So luckily, I have my voiceover work, and I have plenty of working for a friend of mine who's a builder if I wanted it, which I'm going to do some more next week. So it's been pretty quiet. My next project's probably in November, but at this stage. But in the meantime, it's not much happening. Me and my partner just binge watched One Lane Bridge on Monday.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was good. Yeah. It was good. She wanted me to specifically ask you when season 2's coming out, but
we're due to start that next year in February. So to shoot that. So I was at the moment. I'd love it to be a bit earlier, but they've got to write it. So
of course. So
February next year.
So how long were you? So did you do the whole shoot in Queenstown? I take it.
Yeah, it was all Queenstown. Yeah.
So how long were you based there for?
4 months. 4 months.
Oh yeah. Quite a while.
Yeah. I got home every now and again to see the family, and I got a week off here and there. But it was pretty much full time down there. It was a great place to be.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Beautiful.
I mean, you can't beat the beauty of Queenstown for sure.
No, man. Look, when you fly over the Southern Alps, and you look back across the Southern Alps from the plane, and you just see how vast they are and how long they are and massive and unattainable, inaccessible. You're in awe of what Mother Nature can do, you know?
Yeah. And so, I suppose one of the perks of your job is you get to travel quite a bit.
Yeah. I do love traveling. I don't do enough touristy things because when I'm away, and I've kind of been regretting it a bit lately because I've spent so much time in America, but I've never really seen a lot of America. Like I didn't really go on road trips because I was all too busy, trying to find work and hunkering down, trying to save money. But also when I was working, I didn't have any time. That said, I got to see a lot of Los Angeles and a lot of Miami and a lot of all the places I was working in. I got to see a lot of, but I never did the touristy things. And I spent a lot of time in Australia, and I know Victoria and Melbourne pretty much back to front, and I know Sydney pretty well. But the job it's a perk of the job is getting to travel, and I love working with actors from other countries. I'm missing Australia a lot at the moment because I love working over there. I love the people, and I've made great lifelong friends there. And, working in different territories, and the challenge for me is always trying to conquer that new territory, A, getting my face out there, but B, I've got to learn to work with a different accent, because in Australia, I have to have an Australian accent. In America, I have to try and get a pretty good American accent happening because the Americans will think, well, where is this guy from? If the accent's a bit off.
Yeah.
So, it presents its own challenges, and I love traveling and meeting new people. So, it's a great perk of the job.
So when you're learning a new accent, I suppose, do you have a vocal coach that kind of helps you out?
I have done. Ironically, whenever I do American stuff here, I tend to. I've had an American dialogue coach, but in America they were like, "Well, your accent's great," so it's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
You did a really good job of the Irish accent, laddie, when you were in Sons of Anarchy.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I remember being in a read through for the show. I was in one of the episodes, probably my first one where I spoke, and I did and it was a full room with all the guys from Sons of Anarchy, and Mark Boone, the big hairy guy, I knew already because we'd worked together. But everyone else, I was like, God, this is an established show. It was one of my first gigs in America, and I was going, "Oh God, I got to pull out this fucking Australian accent." Sorry, I can't swear.
Yeah, you can. You can swear.
I got to pull out this Irish accent in front of all these people, and one of the lead women, who's now in Ray Donovan, is Irish. Paula Hand, I've forgotten her name. And I was like, so I did it. I was like, okay, Joel, just harden up, do your job. And the Irish actor came up to me afterwards and said, "Are you okay with your accent?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. Is it all right?" And she went, "It's really good." She said, "It's really good, really good." So that kind of gave me a boost, and hopefully it transcended into my final performance. But to have Paula, who was Irish, say, "Yeah, their accent's really good," that really helped me.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Watching it back now, I can pick up moments where I was like, "Oh, my accent was a bit dodgy there." But I always do that. I always pick up my dodgy Australian accent from time to time, or my dodgy American accent. So
I think that's creative people, though. We critique everything of everything we do, right?
I know. So why are we in a business where we constantly are unhappy with what we're doing? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you watch your own films, or do you watch a series back and see yourself? Or are you
occasionally? Yeah. Like I watched One Lane Bridge, obviously, because I was very proud of it, but I haven't seen Luminaries. So because it was such a long time ago, and I loved doing Luminaries, and we had a great time, and it was a great challenge. Another accent I had to perfect, German, but I haven't got around to watching it yet. Other things, there's stuff in Australia I haven't watched. I did a Netflix show a couple of years ago. Haven't seen it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you watch it on your own or with the family?
I might watch my bits later on.
Yeah.
Apparently the show is really good. Secret City 2. Apparently people love it, but I just haven't got round to putting an effort into watching it. So
yeah. I think I've read in interviews that you're not too much of a fan of the Hollywood system in terms of what's required.
No.
Yeah. Is it because
I'm not.
Is it because of the superficial nature of Hollywood, or is it just because you have to kiss a lot of ass? I suppose.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty down to earth as a person, and I have my mother, who was an actor, to thank for that, and of course, my immediate family. My wife won't take any crap either. So, I had to learn from a very early age that people don't like bullshit. Especially when I started, there wasn't much of a television industry. And in fact, when I started acting, I was just hoping for a long career in theatre, because that's basically all we had. Before Shortland Street, before, Outrageous Fortune, before any of that, there was probably one show being made on TV called Hanlon, and you may not remember that. My mum was in it. It was Hanlon, and there was a show called Radio with Radio Waves, and there was another show after Hanlon called, Michael Hurst was in it. But literally there was nothing being made on TV. So I had to learn very early on that it was going to be no money, hardly any work, and be prepared to scrape a living together some other way, because this acting thing wasn't going to do that. And then luckily things started to open up for New Zealand actors through Hercules and Xena. The American agents came down and started paying us attention. And then Te Mawera obviously did Once for Warriors, and that launched the New Zealand thing in America. And so we both had the same agent in the States, because he just loved New Zealand. So we suddenly realized we could all go overseas and try and make it. And but I was just not one of those people who was going to suddenly play the game. Other actors I know do play the game, and they go to Hollywood and go to all the parties and do all the press and the thing.
but see, I was in my early 30s when I first went to America. I'd been doing it since I was a kid, so I knew the crap from a very early age. I had a wife and children here, so I didn't want to do the bullshit, It's just not me as a person.
That's fair enough.
I went to a few parties and met some famous people, but I refused to be a kiss ass. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I highly respect that. With that being said, I mean, you've kind of had your little bits of Hollywood brought to you anyway. I mean, I actually only figured it out maybe a couple of weeks ago that you were in Lord of the Rings. Because I was going through your filmography and I saw you were in Lord of the Rings, and I was thinking, Lord of the Rings, what does he do? Where is he in Lord of the Rings? You're the orc at the pirate ship, right?
With the skull on his head, yeah.
Yeah. So did you, when you did Lord of the Rings, were you aware of what you were a part of? Because I can't even remember if Fellowship of the Ring had been released by the time you were filming that scene.
Well, listen, when I was called in to do Lord of the Rings, it was when they were doing pickups for the third movie. So this is like 5-6 years after the first movie was made.
Okay.
So obviously I knew the impact that Lord of the Rings had. I was a little reluctant at first to do it because I'd done a lot of prosthetic work before on Hercules and Xena and other shows that Pacific Renaissance had made. So I was a bit like, do I really want to do prosthetic makeup? But then I went, hang on, Joel, come on. It's Lord of the Rings. It's Peter Jackson. It's the biggest trilogy since whatever. Get over yourself. So I did it. Had a great time. Learned a lot. It was hard work, and for my little time on there, because of the prosthetic work, I'd have to get up at midnight, be in the chair at 1 a.m. and ready to shoot at 7 a.m. So it wasn't an easy. Yeah, but I forever have. Now, who can say that they have their own bust of themselves?
Oh, that's awesome.
This was made for me by Richard Taylor.
Really?
And, he presented this with me after I'd finished. So, say no more.
Yeah. So how many days work was it when you were doing that?
Probably 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
All up. Yeah.
Did you actually have much interaction with Peter Jackson, or was it a second unit directing it?
Fran, his wife, directed some. Peter directed some, but not necessarily in the room. He was on another location, so he'd be calling it in over the internet. But it was mostly Fran, and so it was fun. I got to meet some awesome people that are, again, lifelong friends. It's the nature of this business. Because we've all been through it together.
Yeah, and you're part of a pretty massive time, I suppose, in film history, at least in New Zealand, because there's kind of a before and after with that trilogy. I mean, in terms of tourism and even, I suppose, the film industry, did it create massive opportunities, I suppose, for actors?
Maybe not directly, but certainly what it did do, it told the rest of the world, and I've been saying this for years, and I'll keep saying it, that we can actually do the job down here. So, I do interviews and people say, isn't it amazing that New Zealand's getting on the map and we can, and I say to them, but listen, we've been on the map for 25 years. We've been making these great things for so long now. So the whole thing of, isn't New Zealand lucky, or isn't it amazing that New Zealand's in the spotlight? No. We've been capable for a long time. Yeah. It's just that we still have the whole sort of little brother syndrome going on, whereas I feel like we should, and we are doing it more and more, we should start appreciating that we can match it with the big boys, because they keep coming back.
Well, I think there's a lot of areas where New Zealand are kind of the underdogs, but we always rise to the occasion. I mean, obviously the All Blacks, best sports team in the world, obviously with film, Weta, and even with MMA now with people like Israel Adesanya. So there's a lot of...
And we have one of the best defensive NBA players ever in the NBA, Steven Adams.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're totally right. But then...
I mean...
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, we can hold it with... We can match it with anybody, because we have a great work ethic, for a start. We're nice people. Everyone says Kiwis are so nice. We are. We're nice people. We are... What will it take to get the job done? And that's our motto. Whereas other countries may have
union issues, because we're very good at helping each other out over here. You know, the lighting guys will help the sound guys when they can, and blah, blah. But in America, it's all unionized, so the lighting guy won't pick up the bag for the makeup department because if they drop it or they hurt themselves, they're not insured. Whereas we go, you need some help, and I'm carrying bags for the makeup girls all the time just because they got heavy bags, you know. It's our nature.
Yeah, yeah. Would you ever do, I mean, because I know you've done Eagle versus Shark with Taika, and Taika's obviously a big deal now, and he's doing this Marvel stuff, and he's working on a Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I know you're in contact with him, so if he reached out to you and was like, hey, do you want to be part of Star Wars?
Oh my God, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not only is it Star Wars, but to work with Taika again would be great.
Yeah,
so much fun to work with.
Because what is special about him in terms of the way he directs compared to others that you've worked under?
Well, I can only speak from my time with him on Eagle vs. Shark, obviously, but he's very good at nurturing what you can bring to the party. He's not a standover director. He's not no, this is my vision and my way. He's one of the bros. And he makes you feel like one of the family. Like we hung out socially a lot during Eagle versus Shark. And he's very good at just bringing your thing out. And like I used to improvise on Eagle versus Shark. A lot of it never made it because I'd be cracking up laughing or Taika would be laughing behind the monitor. But he encouraged it, you know.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Oh, we can't use that." I said, "Why? It was really funny." He said, "No, but you were laughing." You know, we spent a lot of time together in LA when Eagle vs. Shark sort of was coming out, and they were just getting into making the first Flight of the Conchords. So Taika and I hung out a lot together and socialised in LA, and he's a lot of fun to be around. A lot of fun. He makes me laugh a lot. Yeah.
Did you ever anticipate he'd end up on the pedestal that he is now?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that thing, and he brings it's a good mix of talent and the Kiwi attitude, and the Kiwi dry humour, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and even in his Thor movie that he did, he still put in a lot of Kiwi humour, and even with the character, with playing Korg, you know,
it was funny.
Yeah. He was the funniest part of the film, I thought. Hey.
Yeah.
His character.
And then he can do great, do straight stuff like the Mandalorian stuff, and there's a little less Kiwi humour in there, I think. But what he's good at is just going, "This is my thing. Do you like it? If not, okay, well, sorry, but this is my thing. Do you like it?"
Yeah.
He's very good at that.
And you've done a bit of work recently. You probably can't talk about it too much. Avatar 2.
Yeah, did some Avatar last year. It was over a year ago now, which is, I was thinking about that the other day. It was a long time ago. Did a few weeks there, and that was a massive machine. I mean, crazy. It's going to be huge.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's taking forever to come out because there's so much involved, I think.
Yep, it's and he's very, very particular about what he wants. If one shot isn't going to work, he'll make it work, and if it takes 2 days, it'll take 2 days. And that's just how he works. He's got great vision. He knows what he wants, and he's prepared like nobody I've ever met. Right down to the beads on this bracelet. No, I don't want those ones. I want these ones. Remember, we had the meeting about it. And he's that kind of guy.
Oh, really? Perfectionist.
Yeah, absolutely. He's over everything.
Yeah. I suppose that's good. Well, I mean, you look at his track record, and it speaks for itself, right?
Yeah, and there's you go to work, and you look on the call sheet, and catering for 300 people. Okay, and there's 300 people working today.
Yeah. Is there any like when you're shooting a blockbuster, does it feel completely different to an indie film, or can they sometimes overlap in some way?
It does feel different, obviously, because it just feels like there's more money on a big blockbuster. So, you go to work and you're getting breakfast, and you see 200 other people who are working that day, and you go, "Well, yeah, this is a big blockbuster." And they're not just extras. And of course, the scale of the sets and the scale of time and the management of time is different. In an independent movie, you've really have very little time because it costs too much. You know, every time you turn the camera over, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, you know, my time on Lord of the Rings and Mortal Engines and Avatar, you just go, yeah, there's a lot of money here. But and even in my stuff in America, the TV in America, I did, you go, yeah, well, they've got a lot more money because they're taking more time on, you know, they're flying as first class and blah, 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 blah. But the essence and the organic nature of filmmaking is the same, especially in New Zealand.
That's good.
Noticed. Yeah, because, you know, in New Zealand, I've worked predominantly with New Zealand crews, even on the big blockbusters, and we all look at each other going, can you believe what's happening? You know, it's major. And we all just get the job done. So,
do you have a specific moment that you were kind of pinching yourself or a particular
moment? I was all the time. But one particular moment was last year. We had the big read-through for Avatar, and I'm looking around and I'm going, oh, God, there's Giovanni Ribisi. Okay. And there's Nurse Jackie. What's her name? Got her name.
Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah. Oh, no, there's Sigourney Weaver. I've forgotten her name. She was in Sopranos. My God, my brain. And she was really lovely. Oh, shit. But, yeah, you go, there's Sigourney Weaver, and then we had lunch on set on Avatar, and I'm sitting there with some of the stunties, and there's Sigourney Weaver's having lunch with us.
Yeah, yeah. So, she's tall, isn't she?
She's very tall. And she's lovely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel terrible. I've forgotten her name. Nurse Jackie. Sopranos. Oh, my God. Anyway, she was really cool. So, but you look around the room and you go, they've done this. He was in that. James Cameron's directed that. Sigourney's been in everything I've seen as a kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Alien, you know, and you do pinch yourself, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you went through a period where you were typecast as a villain quite a bit, weren't you?
Yeah.
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 I would think that a villain would be a better role to play than a hero, though, because you have more room to do more, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. People would say to me, you're typecast all the time, and I was like, yeah, well, it's work. You know, I mean, I've never had a problem with it. You know, if that's my thing, that's my thing. And it is a lot of fun. You get to have a lot of fun being the bad guy or being the crazy god or being the drugged out dude or the drunk guy or assassin. I mean, you have a lot of fun because there are no rules. And, you know, I like to try and push the limits when I work in my performance and see what I can get away with and what I can't get away with. And, you know, I think that's what people like. They know that I will bring it all, and if you want to tone it down, we'll tone it down. You know what I mean? So that was when I was younger, particularly. I was the guy they knew could act crazy.
Yeah. How do you bring that out of you, though? Or do you have a hidden bit of crazy in you, deep down somewhere?
I don't know, man. I always say I'm just a conduit for whatever comes in. I leave myself open to the universe, the world, the ethos, whatever, the acting gods, and they deliver my performance for me, and I just perform it. As I've always said that. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
And I've learned to trust that. Yeah. So that's my thing. And this is what I try and pass on to my students when I teach, is that just trust whatever comes in, you know?
Yeah. So when you're researching a role, how do you go about researching it? And do you do method acting or not so much?
I don't ever research in the sense of I don't sit down and build a character in a notebook. I will go, okay, so what does this character need, or what am I getting from the script? And that's what I take a lot from what I get from the script. And like I said, I try and push everything to a point where I can get away with stuff. So what directors and casting people will see is, oh, that's a different idea. Well, that's a different take on that. And so I work that way. I really trust my delivery, and I work on expanding that way. And when you do a show over a period of time, like a show I did in Australia for 6 years, we all knew the characters by the second season really well. So we just expand on that. and then the writers will write accordingly because they know the characters as well. So I don't research. That's just not my thing. I mean, a lot of actors do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I just really trust what comes in, you know.
Yeah. And do you have a particular role, I suppose, that was really, really hard? I'd imagine any type of emotional scenes would be the hardest.
Hard as in it's the most exhausting, yeah. And you've really got to be genuine. I've done emotional scenes recently, and I've had to really go into dark places. And it's not fun, but it's the only way I can get there because I want it to be genuine. I don't want it to be crappy acting. So
yeah. I think I watched an interview with Michael Caine, and he said once when he wants to cry, there's a specific memory that he always goes back to, and no one knows that memory, not even his wife, and that's how he taps into it. Mine's
similar. I just go somewhere where I don't want to go ever again, but I have to go there to get it happening. And then I try and I used to, when my mother was alive, I'd go and talk to, she was a Buddhist, so I'd go and talk to her teachers at the Buddhist Centre and just get a bit of clearance because it can mess you up a little bit, where you go, you know. Luckily, I don't have to do that a lot, go into dark places, but I've had to before, yeah. Then acting gets really hard when the last theatre show I did, Mr. Burns in Auckland, and Oliver Driver, the director, was saying to me literally 2 days before we opened, Joel, you haven't got this yet. So, you know, you have to find it. We open on Friday night, you have to find it. So that was difficult. Luckily, Oliver did one movement. He spread his arms wide and did that. And he said, the character is this. And that's all it took, and I got it.
Well, that's good. I suppose sometimes it's the most simplest thing, right?
Absolutely. I was just not trusting myself. You know, it had been a long time since I'd done theatre. I had just, you know, I hadn't tapped into it yet, and it was a circuit breaker. He did one movement, and it was there.
Are you able to separate yourself from a role, like after it's done, or does it take you a while to kind of break free of the character?
No, I'm pretty good at leaving it at the door.
That's good.
You know, 5 o'clock, sign out, go home. There's a little residue depending on the role. I've just done a show called Black Hands about the David Bain, the Bain family murders.
Oh, wow.
And I was playing the father in that. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on there, which I think stuck with me a little bit afterwards, subconsciously, I think. And we had a lot of, we had a Māori representative who would come in and bless the set each week, bless the project, bless the memory of the family. And so, yeah, it was quite intense.
How's your memory? Do you have a very good memory, photographic memory? I was asking David about this and how he memorizes scripts.
Yeah. I hate learning lines, but I do learn them because I'm just like that. But I find I learn them quicker when I'm either rehearsing the scene or rehearsing the scene. Once we start putting movement to the dialogue.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's when I learn it quicker. For Mr. Burns, I had a lot of dialogue, and I got the script. I was like, how the hell am I going to learn this? But you know, you run the scene and you block it, rehearse it with the script in hand, and then eventually you don't need the script, and it all starts falling into place. Yeah.
Because what's the time from you getting a script to rehearsing, and then obviously acting the scene?
Yeah, Mr. Burns, I was a last minute ring-in, so I got the script a week before rehearsal started. So that's very rare, but usually you have a good, you know, maybe a month before you start. So you get the scripts, and then you do all your wardrobe calls and your makeup calls and your wardrobe tests, and then if you're lucky enough to get a rehearsal period, that's when you start nailing it down. But I quite like the danger of not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Until we start shooting. Yeah.
Because do you get opportunities to ad-lib? I mean, besides your time with Taika, how are most directors in terms of ad-libbing or slightly altering the lines?
Yeah. In America, they're good at really good at, like, I remember the first, when I did a thing called Without a Trace, the producer of the show, Jonathan Kaplan, was the director. And I was like, God, this is the big cheese. He was directing it.
Mm.
And he said to me, hey, Joel, I don't like that line. What do you want to say? And I was like, excuse me? What do I want to say? What? And he said, yeah, what do you want to say? And I was like, I don't know, because I was just so unused to that.
Yeah.
Being given permission. But that's, in America, that's how they work a lot. They'll say, oh, just change that line, dude. Yeah, just change that. But because I was not brought up that way, I tend to, the challenge for me is to make whatever the dialogue is work.
Mm.
And that's just a little private challenge I have. There are times where I change. I'll say on One Lane Bridge, a couple of times, the director, I say, that line just doesn't feel right. Can I just say this instead? And they'll be, yeah, sure. But I don't do that a lot. Because it's my little private challenge, personal challenge, to make the dialogue work.
So how was that when you worked with Taika then? Because I think I read with Thor, 70% of it was ad-libbed or something insane.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I think from memory, it was a long time ago. He's pretty open, yeah. He's not a real stickler for, no, I've written these words and you say them. It's a little different, I guess, if the dialogue is really crucial to the flow of the story, or if it was a big courtroom drama and all the facts had to be as per written, because otherwise you'd lose the plot, literally. When it's that situation, you have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
Certain playwrights, like for Pinter, for example, if you're doing a Pinter, you'd have to know the dialogue as written, because it's very important to the play. And you just owe it to the writer, and you owe it to the mana of the theatre in general. So, which is for Mr. Burns what we did too. We had to read, because the dialogue was written as it was originally improvised back in the day when they first wrote it. So all the ers, the ums, the sighs, and the stuttering dialogue was written verbatim, because these actors were making it up at the time. So we had to kind of honour that, which is a great challenge in itself.
Yeah, of course, because naturally when you talk, you do say and and as you think of the next word in your head. So like these filler words. So I suppose it does sound a bit more realistic when someone's talking that way, as opposed to...
Yeah, it can sound a bit, if it's not done correctly, you can sound like you're saying all these ums and ahs because you have to.
Yeah.
So you got to make it real.
That's the key, eh?
Yeah, you got to make it sound legit. I mean, we didn't always honour every single moment like that, because it's just too difficult with the flow of the piece. But we tried to do as much as we could.
Yeah. Do you prefer working on a television series as opposed to a film? Because I'd imagine with a series, it's a bit more guaranteed income in terms of you've got your paycheck coming, I suppose.
That's a fair point. You also, the journey of the show is usually longer than the 2 hours you've got to fill into a movie.
Yeah.
So you've got a few months, a few weeks,
So say when you were working on Shortland Street, for example, I mean, you would have known what you were doing for however long. How long were you on Shortland Street for? I can't even remember.
I did a year.
Yeah. So
12 months.
Because, I mean, obviously, I suppose for anyone, and this is kind of for me as well, on the creative arts, you're not really sure sometimes where your next check is going to come from. Like how you're going to put food on the table. So I suppose it's exciting, but sometimes it can make you quite anxious at the same time.
You're the first person ever that's actually said that. I've been saying that for years. It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time, especially when you have a family and a mortgage.
Of course.
I hate it and love it all at the same time, because I don't know what's coming up. That's the exciting bit. Like, great, whatever's next. And then it's like, but I've got nothing coming up. I have nothing happening. Yeah. And even George Clooney, who's a multi-millionaire, says he's always worried that his last movie that he did was his last movie. He's always been terrified that he'll never work again. So that never leaves you.
Yeah. And I suppose...
And I'm sure it's the same for all artists.
Oh, yeah, for sure, because you're never promised tomorrow. There's no guarantees.
No.
So, I mean, it makes it good in some ways because you don't get stuck in that boring, monotonous routine.
I was about to say, yeah, I think if I was given a role that was a never-ending 6-year contract, but the character was quite dull and boring and not very exciting to me, I'd hate it. I'd rather be, unemployed. On one level. On another level, on my dad mortgage-paying responsibility level, I'd probably go, well, it's 6 years of work. But creatively, if it wasn't a very exciting role for 6 years, I'd do my head in. Whereas what I loved about Shortland Street was he was quite a fun, light, funny character, and I did my thing, and they liked it, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's got to give me that charge, each role.
Yeah. What's the longest you've gone with not knowing when your next project is?
Probably maybe a year, a few years ago. About 8 to 9 months, maybe. Yeah.
What do you do?
I've been working. I was working for my friend who's a builder, so I was labouring.
I think I saw Tamira Morrison did that recently too. He was working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was doing some work in Cambridge, I think, for one of his friends who owns a construction business. Yeah.
Listen, it's really hard work, and you come away with an appreciation for the people who do those skilled jobs. I've learnt a lot. Ask me 5 years ago how to put up weatherboards, I would have looked at you like, what's a weatherboard? But now I know, now I can comprehend building stuff. It's not as foreign to me, and I'm learning stuff, and I do stuff around my house. And
you can build a voiceover studio now.
I can build a voiceover studio. I need someone to guide me, which my friend Hayden is the one who sort of oversaw it because he's the qualified builder. But, it's not as foreign to me anymore, and I'm learning heaps. So
that's cool. Yeah, and I suppose with an actor, if you are researching specific roles, and I know some actors, they'll research a particular field if their character, like say if your actor was, if your character was, I don't know, a builder or a psychologist or something, you'd probably end up researching that particular field. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, yeah. I mean, if I need to play a builder from now on, I kind of have a good idea of what it's like. I've done it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you certainly have an appreciation for that skill on, not just builders, plumbers, electricians, all those guys, roofers. I mean, it's very skilled stuff.
Well, they're critical workers. I mean,
absolutely.
It's something that I've become more aware of, I think, due to lockdown and everything, when the whole world stopped. We tend to put particular people on pedestals like actors and celebrities, musicians and so forth. And you think about during lockdown, it was the critical workers from someone stocking shelves at the supermarket.
Yeah.
They're the people that we needed most.
I was always during lockdown, particularly, I was a bit like, why are these celebrities speaking out about this? I don't know if they want to, their intentions were to give support to the critical workers, which is great. But my thing was, do these critical workers who are on the front lines every day really care what that some actor in America is saying, come on, support the critical work? They just want more PPE gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
want, and they're tired. So, I don't know, I'm always a little bit cynical about this stuff. I have done in the past sort of rallying the troops sort of stuff for charities and stuff, which is, I think is great. But, I'm a little reluctant to be the celebrity who's fronting for a cause, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I think there's a bit of a disconnect there. I remember when Ricky Gervais hosted the Golden Globes, and he was roasting the actors. He's like, come up, accept your award, don't
bugger off.
Yeah. And that's
I was in America when that was went to air. I was just watching it live, and I was like, good on him, because I thought, chill out, he's just having a bit of fun. But you had some of the actors getting up there saying, Ricky, you're being really mean to us, and I was like, oh, bugger off, you're a multi-millionaire who's never out of work,
and this comedian is taking the piss out of you. People watching, there are people around the world watching now who don't have, a third of the money that you'll earn in their life. They live in shit housing. Life's tough. Get over it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but from all your travels, but I know from every time I've traveled overseas and seen other countries, I end up appreciating New Zealand more because I think there's a lot that we take for granted.
Totally, yeah. I always come home and go, it's actually not that bad here. We have our issues and we have things we need to work out. But really, and the amount of time I've been away, when people have said to me, we really admire you Kiwis for what you're doing socially, economically, politically. They have a lot of time for us down. So, yeah, you come back and I'm really grateful that I live here and I'm from here. And, being a Kiwi, I feel connected to this country through my gut. I'm connected through my soul here. I don't know if a lot of countries can say that. A lot of people in other countries can say that about their country. But I feel very connected to this country, So.
Do you get homesick if you're away for too long?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember when I first started going to Australia to work, this is before we had Sky recorders, and I'd say to my dad, please, can you record all the rugby games on... Here's a pile of videos. Please put all the rugby games on here and send them over to me, because I really missed... My thing was, but if I go to Aussie for 6 months, I'm going to miss the Super Rugby. So yeah, I was always like, if I couldn't watch an All Blacks test when I was in LA, I was just mortified. And I remember I found a pub in somewhere in the valley in Los Angeles that was playing the All Blacks versus South Africa at 3 a.m. over there. And I literally got up at 1 a.m., drove to this bar in the middle of nowhere to watch the All Blacks because I couldn't miss it.
Were a lot of your American colleagues like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's
well, some of them are, they're more aware of the game now, but they were like, why is this guy going up to watch rugby? The All Blacks,
But even though Americans can speak the same language, there is very much a cultural difference between Kiwis and Americans.
Yeah. I'd have to explain myself a lot more to some Americans just with my humour, and we talk quite fast over there for them. Like if I was ordering coffee, I'd always have to say, "Can I have a coffee to go?" Because if I said, "Can I have a coffee to take away?" They're like, "What?" So, yeah. We tend to speak very quickly.
Yeah, I've been told that as well from a couple of Americans that I talked to.
Yeah.
Did you get asked a lot about your accent? Like, where are you from? I got that a bit when I was in America.
Yeah, they all thought I was Australian.
But that was after, because I went there well after Lord of the Rings had come out. And so I'd tell them I'm from New Zealand, and they'd immediately reference Lord of the Rings. They'd be like, oh, right, Lord of the Rings. Do you know Peter Jackson? I'm like, well, I don't know him.
Right.
Yeah,
they all think we know each other. One guy said to me on a TV show once, hey, I hear you're from New Zealand. Where are you from? Sydney? I was like, what? I said, no, that's Australia.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of Americans that thought New Zealand was part of Europe. I'm like, no.
Yeah. It's back in the 80s when I used to go to the States, my grandmother lived there, they'd always think we were part of Sweden or England.
It's funny, eh?
Yeah.
But I think as time's gone on, and obviously as the world has become more connected, I suppose, economically and through technology, I think people are a bit more aware now.
Yeah, and we're creating great art and people making great inroads in health and technology, all from down here. And music, our music scene is really appreciated now overseas, and it's good.
Yeah, and I think even through COVID, I mean, we're kind of getting a lot of media attention overseas, just due to our response compared to other countries. It's funny. I'm not sure if you use Reddit a lot? It's a social media platform, Reddit.
No, I haven't. No, not really.
So there's a subreddit called World News, and it's usually where I go to kind of just get the gist of what's happening around the world without having to sift through multiple websites. And it's amazing over the last couple of years how often New Zealand's featured on there. Jacinda in particular, she's always on there.
Yeah.
She's well respected. Did you ever see? I know Stephen Colbert. He came here. He did like a little tourism thing here.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, to promote New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because does tourism and film, do you think, intertwine a lot?
Yeah, I believe so, because the One Lane Bridge in particular has just been sold to Sundance and somewhere else. And of course, they're part of the reason is they're saying, because, I mean, look at the scenery. So, and we had a lot of input from Tourism Queenstown and the South Island. And so, yeah, they bank on the fact that we're making these shows in beautiful countries as well, and beautiful scenery. So it's all goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Well, because New Zealand always doubles for another country or a city usually. I think so. They used Queenstown in Mission Impossible, I think, to double for Kashmir.
Probably, yeah.
And I think in Mulan they shot part of it here as well. I think.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, in South Island. Have you been to that new Kumeu studio at West Auckland?
Have
you done any film work there?
Well, is it new, or is because there are so many?
It's probably there are a lot of studios, but I know they did the Meg there. They shot the Meg there because they have a big water, kind of these massive water tanks where they shoot there. And I think Amazon Lord of the Rings, I think, is. Yeah,
I did a movie years ago called 30 Days of Night, and I think we shot out there in the studio. It was massive. Yeah. Do you have any particular places in New Zealand you like to film? We always like, I suppose close to home, close to Cambridge, Waikato. I love absolutely, but I love Auckland because I'm from there and I grew up there, so I get to go up and work in Auckland back in my in the hood. So I do love Auckland. Queenstown's amazing. I mean, geez, it's beautiful. You never get sick of that scenery.
I was meant to go last Wednesday.
Right.
But then the lockdown thing happened and I could have gone, but I thought it was pretty risky because I didn't know how many cases there were and if the whole country was going to go into lockdown or if they're going to cease flights, which they did because I was going to fly Jetstar. And so I would have been stranded there. So luckily I got my money back. So I'll have to go again at some point. But then, and then I think just the Monday gone, we watched One Lane Bridge, binge watched it, and we're like, oh, damn it. Because of the scenery.
You just go up into those mountains, and it's like, oh my god! How did this get created? It's amazing, and Lake Wakatipu, and it's just incredible, And the drive out to Glenorchy, that's my favourite part. You go over, there's a certain moment on your drive out to Glenorchy, you're about half an hour in, and you come over a ridge, and you just see this painting. It's like, what? Surely that's a backdrop.
Yeah,
but it's real. It's just incredible. Wellington I love, and I've worked there a lot. I always love going to Wellington. Christchurch, I did a series there a few years after the earthquake. I've always liked Christchurch. New Zealand's awesome. I did a film on the west coast of the South Island years ago, and I got to drive around from all the way from Greymouth over to Christchurch through Arthur's Pass, and it's just awesome.
I think it's the best way to experience the South Island is driving around. Yeah. Like get a camper van or something and just drive around.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just
beautiful.
Completely different to the North Island, that's for sure.
Totally, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. North Island's a bit more urbanized. Have you been to any other, I should ask, is there any countries you haven't been to or done any film work in that you'd really like to do film work in?
I would love to go to Italy, France, Spain. I haven't done Europe. I've been to England and Scotland, but mostly those countries. Not really desperate to go anywhere else. Back to the islands. I was in Niue for something a long time ago. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
But Europe, definitely, yeah.
Can you speak any other languages besides English, or is it just English?
No, I can pick up. You spend enough time in America, you pick up a little bit of Spanish.
Oh yeah, of course you would too. Yeah.
And in Niue, I was starting to pick up a little bit of the lingo, what was being said rather than specific sentences. But not really. No, I'm not particularly talented in languages. Sorry.
Well, you're pretty good at accents. That I definitely do know. Is there some accents you find difficult to do? I mean, I try and imitate accents, and there's certain ones that I think British, because British has so many different variations of the accent.
Yeah, I can go into a job and go, oh, I can do that accent, and then they will go, actually, Joel, we'll actually get you a dialogue coach because the subtleties aren't there. Yeah, we start launching into the cartoon version of the accent, which is
of
a
course.
big no. And as Kiwis know, when someone does a really bad Kiwi accent, it's like, well, that's not how it is. That's really offensive.
Yeah.
So I don't claim to be particularly on top of my accent game, but South African is very hard. I was in America and I was asked to audition for a movie, and they said he's South African. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And thinking I was the only South African guy in LA out of all the actors that could do a South African accent. And of course I wasn't, because I walked into the room and there were like 4 real South African actors in there going, hey man. So, that's always very tough. Irish is hard. Scottish, doing accents well is very difficult.
Well, I suppose, yeah, and David pointed on it too, not going into comical territory.
Exactly.
Can you are you self-aware though when you're going into comical territory? Are you aware of when oh no, I went too far with that?
It's an interesting question. Maybe, I don't know. I guess afterwards when I listen to it back or watch it back, I'll go, oh, that was a bit obvious. I did a voiceover a while ago, and I was being Scottish in their voiceover, thinking I was nailing it. But then, of course, the engineer was Scottish, and he was like, yeah, it's okay. But I thought I was nailing it. So his ears are more well-trained,
Yeah. So when you're working with a dialogue coach, they must break down the specifics, right? Do they get into the vowels and how you say the vowels?
Yep. Yeah. For luminaries, I had to be German, so our great dialogue coach Penny would say she'd break down each word and each syllable, and because again, it's about subtleties. It's not about some prat doing a German accent. It's got to sound like you're, born and raised in Germany. So there's lots of work on particular vowels and then inflections of the word in the sentence, because how we say hey bro, we can say it 5 different ways.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So those little things are important to get on top of, and so that's when a good dialogue coach comes in and help. And with American too. For a long time, when we were doing American accents, we would really push the R's and what are you doing for dinner?
Yeah.
But Americans don't already talk that way. It's a little less full on than that, So we had dialogue coaches come in and say, you need to pull back on that. And a film I did in Australia, the dialogue coach said to me once, okay, you're not going to watch baseball, you're going to watch baseball. So there's little differences there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's
it is fascinating. Yeah. So I was like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that.
Because you make it look so seamless when I've watched you on screen.
Maybe I'm really good at faking my way through it. I think.
Wasn't that's acting though, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's pretty much the job. You're faking it.
Weirdly, when I used to audition for American voiceovers, my accent would just fall apart because I don't know why. I just couldn't do it. I was doing, I would end up doing a really terrible amateur actor doing a really bad American accent. But in front of a camera, it's a little less daunting for me.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'd imagine you'd be a bit more self-aware because you're in a booth, you're trapped in a booth with headphones on. Yeah, probably you're limited in movement. So
I can do my version of an American accent here because I'm more relaxed.
Yeah.
But over there I was more nervous.
So what type of voiceover work have you been doing?
I do the Bunnings voiceovers, everything you see on TV about Bunnings.
That's me. You. Oh,
that's me. So I started that one about a year ago. And for years, I did my first voiceover when I was 16, so I've been doing them a long time. Did the Kiwi Bank ones many years ago, and then Dean O'Gorman's doing them now. Everything, really, yeah. But Bunnings is my sort of bread and butter at the moment, which I'm very grateful for.
Would you ever want to do, voice within like an animated film or a video?
I've done that, yeah. It's fun, yeah. I've done a few things on a video game called Path of Exile. So,
yes, that's a New Zealand game. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've done a few of those voices. You like that? You play it?
I've played it a couple of times. I've actually tried to get the people who made it grinding gears. Is it grinding gears? Grinding game gears?
Something like that.
Yeah. I always get it mixed up because I think it's 3 G's in the name and I get the name mixed around. But yeah, right. I'm trying to get them on the show, but they're a bit busy at the moment. But yeah. I played it and I know quite a few people that play it. Oh, so you do one of the voices for it?
Yeah, I've done 2 now. I've just read for another one too. So I did one. I actually did one when I was doing One Lane Bridge. So Adi Walker, who's another great New Zealand actor who was in our show, she came into I had my voiceover booth set up in my hotel room, and she came in and did her session for 3 hours, and then I did mine. So
with these roles, how much of it do you go and chase, and how much of it is your agent just being like, "Hey, I've got this opportunity for you"?
Majority of the time, it's the agents.
Really?
If I hear a project that I've heard about this project. Have you heard about it? They'll chase it up a bit.
Okay.
Luckily, sometimes if I'm lucky, someone will ring me and say, "Hey, man, are you available?" So it tends to happen more in Australia than New Zealand for some reason. The show I did, Secret City in Australia, the director had just worked with... it was a show called Harrow. The director had just seen me in Ash vs. Evil Dead and just offered me the job straight away. So
that's cool.
That happens. And that's always really, it's really cool when that happens because you feel like you don't have to audition and wait, and you don't have to get approval, and it's just the job's there. So
yeah. Well, the reason why I ask is because you have Taika's phone number, I take it, and you can message him. so would he? Let's say hypothetically, he's doing the Star Wars movie and he wanted you to have a role in it.
Yep.
Would he message you, or would he still go through your agent?
I don't know. I guess he would ask his producers to get in touch with my agent. There are certain avenues I guess he would need to follow just out of ethically.
Yeah. So there's strict protocols that, code, I suppose, that you still follow, even if you know someone on a personal basis.
Yeah, he may even text me and say, "Hey, bro, there's a role in this movie for you," but we'll get my people to talk to your agent. That's happened. If I do this movie in November down in Wellington, my friend Lauren's making, she's been in touch with me. "Hey, are you available? There's a great role for you." Yeah, I'm totally available, but you got to ring my agent and do it properly, So
otherwise, your agent would probably get annoyed, I'd imagine.
Totally, yeah. And I have an agreement with her that I at least have to talk to her about it. So.
Yeah. Have you had the same agent like the whole time?
Well, yeah. Since I did my first ever gig in 1987, I've had the same agent. But it was originally Robert Bruce, and he passed away in 2009, and then his partner took over the business, and I've been with her ever since.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I suppose that's good though, because you build a camaraderie, I guess, with with those people. Same crew, same agent,
Luckily, my profile was pretty healthy at the time of Robert's passing, so people knew who I was anyway. They knew where to find me, and it was, if there was an audition involved, it was up to me to do a good audition. It's not up to my agent to get me the job in that sense.
Yeah.
My American agent, who when I first went over there, said to me, "Look, you're great. People will really like you, but you're not the big dick in LA like you are in New Zealand." He was a pretty straight shooter, and he said to me,
I can get you into the room. The rest is up to you. So it's all you want to hear is honesty like that.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose particularly in Hollywood, where I imagine there's a lot of deception. So you probably want straight shooters.
A lot of back scratching and ass kissing, and you're amazing. I was told a couple of times, you're the undiscovered comic genius in LA, and I was like, okay, but how many people have you said this to today?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose you'd have a pretty good bullshit meter, right? You'd probably be able to tell when people are just talking crap.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Well, yeah. I mean, you hear those things and you go, "Wow, me," and then you think, "Oh, hang on, come on, let's not get carried away. You haven't got a job yet."
Yeah.
She hasn't cast you in anything yet, so
that's interesting, though. Did you find it easy merging into or fusing, I suppose, with the American culture? Because I've heard that LA can be quite lonely.
It's tough, man. It's really lonely, especially when you're up there trying to find work, and you are a newbie and no one knows who you are, and you're going for all these, guesty roles in these well-established shows, and you show up and there's 20 other people in there going, hey, and they're all lined up, next please, and then you sit with all your other Kiwi actor mates meeting up for lunch, all broke, going, hey, I'm auditioning for this new thing tomorrow, and you're going, well, why haven't I heard about that? And so you suddenly get all that paranoia.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then you have other friends of yours who are making it and making millions of dollars, and you're not, and you feel that can. I'm always very pleased and, of course, very happy for them, but there's that element of like, well, they've cracked it, and hopefully I can.
Yeah.
But what if I can't?
Because how often would you second guess yourself? Because I know as a creative person, I second guess myself all the time, even if it's just the minuscule thing. It just puts that seed of doubt in you.
Totally. I think it's a healthy thing and a destructive thing all at the same time. I've always got my self-awareness button ready to press because I never want to get carried away with myself.
You seem very grounded.
Thank you. Well, like I said, I had a grounded and pretty straight up mother about the whole business. I'm surrounded by pretty straight up grounded people in my life, and I don't have the energy to be something I'm not.
Yeah, basically. It requires too much energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want people to, I want people to like me as a person and as an artist. I want to be respected for what I do, not who I am particularly, and I want, say, when I work with younger actors, especially now that I'm 49 and I'm working with lots of younger people and I'm teaching, I want that experience that they have of working with someone who's been around a long time to be a good one.
Yeah.
He was nice. He was gracious. He really supported me. He encouraged me. He wasn't an asshole. Because all the actors I look up to, my favourite actor in the world is Hugo Weaving, and he's the nicest man you'll ever meet in your life. Everyone loves him. He's a total sweetheart. So all my male role models were very nice, gracious men.
So that must have been great then when you worked with him on Mortal Engines.
Well, we'd worked together before that on a film called Little Fish in Australia, and that's when I first met him. And the first moment I met him, he treated me like I was an old friend. So
that's cool.
And I'll never forget it. And he always, whenever I see him, he treats me like an old friend. And I hadn't seen him for some years before we did Mortal Engines, and I was like, oh, God, don't go into his trailer and say hello. I don't want to bother him because I'm that guy. I don't want to bother him. But next thing I know, knock on my door, Hugh, come in. He came and he started chatting to me. How you been? What have you been up to? And yeah.
That's cool. Awesome. That's very cool.
And you never forget that. So I'm aware that younger people who are starting out in the business, they need those good experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They definitely do. I think it always helps if your initial, your initial part in the film or television industry is a good one.
Totally.
It's easy, I suppose, to sustain energy and positivity as opposed to as opposed to if it's negative.
Yeah, I remember my time on Shortland Street. There was a younger actor on there, and we were doing a scene where he had to get really angry. And I said to him just quietly, "Just push it, bro. See how far you can go with it. But I can only tell you to pull it back. Go for it. Just try it." I was being a bit sort of like, "Come on, just try. Just have a go." And he did, and the director was like, "Yeah, that was awesome." And I said, "How was that?" And he said, "It was great." I said, "See, and that's right. That's cool. What I feel like I want to do now is push these people along, because that was my shtick was always, how far can I push this and get away with it?
You must get a sense of fulfillment, I suppose, as well, when you see a lot of younger actors doing well and getting better and better at their craft.
Yeah, totally. And it keeps us old guys on our toes, because you arrive on
of course,
on set and go, God, these guys are really good. They're way better than I was at that age.
I've got to up my game. Yeah,
totally.
That's good. Friendly competitiveness, so to speak.
Friendly competitiveness, yep. Yeah. And, like I say to my students when I teach, we're all walking side by side in this. I'm not ahead of you. You're not behind me. No one in this class is behind anyone else. We all walk together side by side. That's the journey.
That's great. I think that's a brilliant way to end it. So if anyone wants to follow you on social media, funnily enough, I do these boys' nights every Thursday, and I was with them last night. I told them I was talking to you, and at first they were like, "Joel Tobeck, who's Joel Tobeck?" And then I showed a picture, and they're like, "Oh, that guy." So I think a lot of people know you, but then I think they get confused with the name, and they're like, "The name, yeah." But obviously, as I've said, you are an underappreciated legend.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Social media, I do a bit of Twitter and Instagram, but that's about it, really.
That's about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't. I'm over Facebook. I don't really post a lot on there.
Oh, it's negative.
I kind of just.
That's what it is.
I follow Twitter because all the news is a bit immediate, so that's the only reason, really.
Yeah.
And Instagram, Instagram's more for the fans in inverted commas, because they like to follow.
Yeah. Of course. But do you post your stuff, like, in terms of what you're working on or what you might be working on
No. I don't usually, because we're not allowed to, for one thing. And I don't really like being the actor who's always telling everybody that they're working. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of actors who aren't. And so,
of course.
I don't. Yeah. I've stopped doing that. I used to do it a lot when I was in LA. Hey, here's me today. We're shooting in LA and blah blah blah. And I thought, maybe people don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I admit I kind of had that problem a little bit, because I don't really like to use social media, but I kind of have to use social media to market this platform. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Same.
So it's finding that balance, because you don't want to. I mean, because there's times where I go through Facebook and it's just negative post after negative post, and it starts to affect you mentally. So so it's a matter of finding the balance. But even, I mean, if I wasn't doing this podcast, I probably would never be on there, to be honest. I'd be you undercover,
Well, my obsession is guitar. So I'm obsessed with music and guitar playing, and funk guitar in particular. So I spend more time on YouTube looking at how to play the latest funk song than I do on anything else. So that's my addiction these days.
That's your stick.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks so much for doing this, Joel. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man, I'm sure.
No, thank you. It's been great. Anytime. And I'll hopefully see you around the traps in Cambridge.
Yeah, well, I do go there often to see family and stuff. So, I'm sure I'll see you
come
around.
Come and say hi.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. That's the show, everyone. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. And until next time, stay safe.